And when the world shall listen, and when the world shall see, and when the world remembers, that world will cease to be.
Apocalypse is the cyclical cataclysm that changes all life on Earth. The plasma apocalypse has been known by every culture. It's been recorded in every religion. It's been described from various perspectives and has gone by many names. Armageddon, the end of days, the rapture, the end times, Judgment Day, the apocalypse. The event has always been seen as being both a destructive and life-giving process. When it brings death to one thing, it gives birth to another. It's a marker for both the end and the beginning of recorded time. Many of our ancient ancestors knew about the cyclical world reset. They would prepare and plan for their survival and the preservation of their families, retreating to deep underground caverns when they saw the signs and omens of destruction. Because the exact date of the event was never known, they made annual preparations which would become traditions that would be carried out by their descendants, who would eventually forget about the cataclysm to come. We are those descendants. This generation has no memory of the creation event, the reoccurring genesis of our world. It survives mostly in the collective subconscious of humanity, secretly escaping through creative mediums like books, movies, and music. Those who remember do so in part, as if trying to recall a powerful dream that slips away from the conscious mind. Those who try and return to the old ways are avoided, mocked, and humiliated, labeled doomsday preppers and preachers of doom and gloom, heretics to the divine and all-powerful church of humanity. But the ancients knew a secret. Those who survive the reset will inherit the new world as masters of themselves and their environments, true and complete freedom bequeathed unto them from a dying age. As I said in the beginning, it has been described from various perspectives. The following is an abbreviated account of the events of the plasma apocalypse as given by my own. The electromagnetic polarity of our world will begin to fluctuate before completely reversing, causing the first signs of what's to come. The sky itself will begin to moan like a woman about to give birth. The sun will disappear for a time, and the world will become very dark. During the neutral point of the polarity shift, the world will experience zero gravity. Everything that isn't attached to the Earth or in it will float. The invisible electromagnetic force field around our world will dissipate, and the physical barrier that keeps the Earth pressurized will break as a massive hole appears in the sky above the North Pole, revealing the plasma vortex that leads to other realms. Bloodlines who have kept the secret of the black hole in the sky and who have prepared over many lifetimes for this moment will enter their rockets and blast off, shooting themselves into the swirling vortex to finally make their escape from this world. Ignorant spectators will only assume their governments are fighting off a strange alien invasion. The hole in the sky will cause the world to depressurize, expanding the atmosphere into instant fog and mist, causing a temporary shortage of oxygen and rupturing eardrums and creating a spiraling wind that will grow into a world storm. The downdraft of that world storm will pull supercooled air from the upper atmosphere down around the Arctic Circle, instantly freezing all it touches into frozen statues of ice. Everything that was floating will be sucked up into the storm towards the opening above the North Pole. Bodies of water that are not sucked out through the opening in the sky will freeze into massive chunks of hail as large as boulders, waiting to fall back to the ground. And water that isn't frozen will be polluted by the dust and debris of the storm, giving it a blood-like color, waiting to rain back down onto this world. The Earth will grow in size, causing worldwide earthquakes that will turn much of the soil into mud through liquefaction. With the electromagnetic force field temporarily down, the plasma that spirals around our world will enter into our atmosphere, looking for attractive places to ground itself. The more powerful plasma streams will carve out canyons and tug at the salty, mud-covered ground, creating mountains in short time. Many centers of civilization will sink into the mud, while others will be petrified instantly. Otherworldly creatures and beings that I call phantazoids will enter into our world. The influx of plasma will possess some of the living, reanimate the dead, and bring life to electronics, all of which will submit to its objective: to seek out and remove those with the old frequency signature until the plasma is cut off from its source. Smaller strands of plasma will dock with the heads of the plasma possessed and reboot the brains of many survivors, wiping their memory of the past. The plasma streams in various forms will set fire to much of the world. Electromagnetic polarity will reverse, and a bluish-white beam of plasma will shoot up from the center of the Earth, up through the North Pole, into the opening in the sky for all to see, also known as Project Bluebeam. The direction of light will reverse, flowing upward, revealing the true nature of our cosmic surroundings. Light will not come from a focal point called the sun, but from the sky itself, and will be various shades of purple, red, orange, and green, depending on one's proximity to the North Pole. The electromagnetic force field will surround our world once again, repelling the rivers of plasma and cutting them off from their source. Our world will be inundated with plasma. A weak electromagnetic force will emerge, allowing leftover floating debris to fall back down to the ground. Meanwhile, objects that crossed the upper atmosphere force boundary will fall upward to their barrier above. Steampunk survivors will sift through the piles of junk that fall to the ground, scavengers of old world artifacts, looking for clues to their past and trying to reverse engineer or repurpose leftover technology. The world will be energized with life by the sudden influx of plasma, which will alchemically create an abundance of oxygen and other elements that will promote extended lifespans. The strong electromagnetic connection between all life forms will promote peace and enable psychic abilities amongst the survivors. Plants, animals, and people, and electronics will be able to communicate with one another. Because of this, the muscles of many survivors will seem strengthened as the weakened electromagnetic force, once called gravity, lessens the weight of everything. These conditions and less pressure on the surface will allow for gigantic growth of all life born into the new world. When those conditions begin to change, life will shrink in size over time once more. Survivors emerging from the earth will carve images of the apocalypse into the rock as a reminder to future generations who will eventually forget all about these events. Small groups will retain the knowledge. One group will guard the secrets of the eye in the sky, passing it along down their generations to empower their lineage. The other group will share their memories but will not be believed. Because they will be infiltrated by the other group, they will develop tests for outsiders to pass, to prove their intentions selfless, wise, and loving. One group will hide in plain sight, slowly manipulating the amnesia-induced world. The other will go unnoticed, becoming reclusive and waiting for the seekers of truth to find them. Pockets of lower frequency survivors will turn to cannibalism before the world's plant life begins to regrow. Phantazoids will fight for their survival, or hide from the natives of their strange new world, only to become mythic and legendary creatures, the fantastic beasts and monsters of old.
Aloha everyone, I'm JayDreamerZ and welcome to Plasma Apocalypse Thursdays. Let's see here. Hold on, before we start, let me get rid of the screen share real quick. Okay, so before we start, I want to explain something, especially for those of you who are new to my channel, who came over from seeing me on the Leak Project. I'm going to be back on this channel normally I don't have like a ticker down here, you know, like thing up there, but okay, here's what's been going on in my life. Here's some stuff lately, personal things, and I'm short on job. So, I just want to throw that out there. Encourage donations or anything, but right now I'm basically on Facebook selling my stuff so that I can keep a roof over me and my son's head. Anyway, so I just want to get that out there. It's not normal, and it's probably not going to happen ever again, but that's what that's all about. So thank you for checking that out. The other thing is I saw The Witcher. A lot of you guys have said, like, hey, you need to check out The Witcher. So as I went to sleep last night... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, there's noise in the background. Oh! Hold on. Oh my God, why do I always do that? I'm so sorry. Oh, this is terrible, right? This is not professional. That's okay. Okay, so I'm so sorry about that. All right, let's start over. Okay. The light's messing up. Hold on 1 second. It's all falling apart. I guess that's not bad. I know what's going on. This is like the funniest, crazy. Okay, I'll start again. Thank you, beautiful awakening. Hold on 1 second. It's too bright over here. That's what it was. It's literally too bright. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Hey, thanks for your patience. Hey, that way fixed it, didn't it? Okay, so let me start over. I'm JayDreamerZ. Welcome to Plasma Apocalypse Thursday. Okay, so what I was saying is, for those new people on my channel and everybody else, I just wanted to kind of explain because I don't do this ever. But I've gone through some personal stuff in my life lately, and I'm short on rent, basically. I'm looking for another job right now so that I can continue to do this and support my family and whatnot. But yeah, I'm short on rent, so I did put this up here. I don't normally encourage donations, but right now, any are very much going towards my rent, basically, to keep a roof over my head. I hate to have to say all that, but twice. But anyhow, that's what that's about. That's why I've got the little donation thing up there. Hopefully I can, raise some money and keep my place and my son's place. So yeah, I just want to throw that out there. I don't normally do that, and I'll probably never do that again, but any donations are greatly appreciated right now. Anyway, so that's all, and don't feel pressured to donate or anything. I just want to throw that out there. All right, so I'm sorry about the noise. The noise was from the video. The other thing is, everyone was telling me to watch The Witcher. There's a show called The Witcher, and I did. I was laying in bed. I watched the whole first episode, and I posted it in my stories mode. And yeah, I posted. I'm looking at the chat too. I posted it in the stories mode, and you guys can hear me now, right? I was watching The Witcher. So when I watch movies, sometimes I'll do a little stories thing, on the phone. There's the stories tab. And first 10 seconds of the show, this elf jumps up out of this swampy mud and starts fighting this Phanazoid. And I was like, oh my God, this Phanazoid is awesome. And so yeah, I started to watch The Witcher, and I'm totally checking it out. So thanks for the recommendation on the Witcher and stuff. And thanks for freaking out in the chat and letting me know that the volume was all kinds of messed up. Man, dang it. All right. So anyway, accidents happen. The important thing is that we learn from those accidents, right? All right, so let's see here. I'm just checking the chat real quick. So today we're talking about liquefaction, okay? So liquefaction. So I did a video called Don't Get Sucked Up, right? When the plasma apocalypse comes, there's going to be the whole sucking up. And I talk about that a lot because it's fun to talk about and it's fun to say. But it's also a huge part of the plasma apocalypse is getting sucked up into the sky and possibly out of the world, or falling back down. The opposite of that is something else I've touched on quite a few times, which is don't get sucked down. Getting sucked down is the other thing that happens as well. And so we're going to talk about liquefaction, quicksand, and getting sucked down. And we're going to start. I'm going to go ahead and bring up some screen sharing. But I want to give a shout out. Hey, Ray Freeman donated $1. Thank you very much, Ray. I appreciate you, man. Hey, I don't even care if it's $1 or a penny. Thank you very much from me and my son. I have another donation. Ted Ozzy donated $100 and says, "Live, you beautiful human. Live boldly. Also, happy holidays." That's in the chat, and there it is right there. Oh, well, I don't know why it skipped Ted Ozzy's alert up there. I think you guys donated at the same time. And Semyaza, wow, says donated $20, says for the new year. Thank you, everyone, very much. Wow. I'm gonna do a huge shout out at the end. I want to continue the video, but wow, I'm very humbled right now. So thank you very much. I'm gonna push forward. And lots of shout outs at the end. So anyway, so today we're going to be talking about liquefaction, getting sucked under, okay? Now, let me just jump right to the point. This is what happened to the Titans of old, to many of them. Not all of them died by sinking down into the ground, but many of them did. And we're going to talk about why and how that happened, right? So if you look up on Wikipedia, soil liquefaction, you're going to get this right here. I'm going to make it bigger so everybody can read it. All right, so up here it says liquefaction occurs when saturated or partially saturated soil substantially loses strength. Go away. And stiffness, it loses strength and stiffness in response to an applied stress, such as shaking during an earthquake, or other sudden change in stress conditions in which material that is ordinarily a solid behaves like a liquid. I can't believe you guys, man. Anyway, thank you all very much again. Normally something that's solid behaves like a liquid. That's the whole thing to all of this. So we don't really need to look at Wikipedia too much. We'll just keep it simple, right? Now let me show you some. Oh, I totally just bit my lip. I'm overwhelmed right now by the donations. That was great. So let me show you some pictures here of what liquefaction looks like. I'm just going to go ahead and stretch this out a bit so you can kind of see it a little bit more. And that video up above my head, by the way. One sec. How do you stretch this out? Oh, I got to stretch out the other thing. Okay. All right. I'm not going to look at the chat for just a second. Hey, Kai L just joined the Good Vibe Tribe. So welcome, Kai L. I'm multitasking right now. I'm super multitasking. Welcome, Kyle. Hey, so here's some pictures of liquefaction and what it looks like. Okay, so here's what happens. The Earth, we're going to have a worldwide earthquake because the Earth is going to grow. It's going to grow in size. It's going to stretch out. There's going to be worldwide earthquakes everywhere, all over the place, even for most likely for everyone that's, not even in an earthquake prone area. Okay. Now the sucking up into the sky thing, as long as you attach yourself to something solid, there's a good chance you won't get sucked up into the sky. Something that's attached to the ground, solidly attached to the ground, right? But remember this liquefaction thing too, right? But you want to be attached to the ground, attached to something that is like embedded in the rock or really buried in the ground to avoid getting sucked up. But liquefaction happens when the world starts to grow and it starts to shake, which I think happens during this neutral point in the polarity shift. And when the world starts to shake like that, remember, even academia admits today that there's more water under the alleged crust of the earth than there is water in what we call our oceans, which is just a huge one ocean. That's the remnant of the last flooding of our world. So all that water that's beneath the surface and even within the soil itself, it gets shaken up and it starts to rise up and it starts to mix with the soil itself. And what happens is all the heavy stuff starts to fall down. It starts to sink in those areas where they're very sandy. Okay, so you want to watch out for places that are very sandy. If you have a house that is built upon loose soil and loose sand, it's probably going to be subject to liquefaction at some point. Much of the world is. And a lot of the people who are looking into mud floods and whatnot, this is where a lot of your mud is going to be coming from. The world is going to turn into a muddy, swampy place during this shaking of the world, okay? Because the water is going to rise up and the heavy things are going to sink down. That's why Atlantis and, Lemuria and some other places sank down into the ocean, right? Or that's why we have the legend of them sinking down. That on top of the flooding that had occurred at the time as well. But yeah, a lot of like buildings and statues, like you can see here, these buildings, this is just small earthquakes. Imagine worldwide earthquakes, right? So not a great idea to be in a really large building like that. Now look at these cars right here, right? This car, let me show you what happens, okay? When the world starts to shake, as you can see in the video right above me, right? There's the building. That was solid. It just has some water in it. It starts to shake. All that water goes to the top and the building starts to sink down. It starts to come on down. I'm going to take the video off for just a second so we can see the rest of what I'm screen sharing here. Oops. Oh, that wasn't it either. Where is it? Where's the video? Video, there it is. Boom. Okay, I'm just going to take that off for a second. But that's what happens. So when you shake this stuff up, it starts to sink down into the mud. But here's what happens. Once you stop shaking it, right, everything gets sucked back down. The water goes back down. It recedes. I keep biting my lip. The water goes back down and it recedes and it becomes solid again. So when you see a car like this one that's like sank into the mud, I think there's another one up here too. Look at all these different cars up here. Can you see those? Right? Those sank down into the mud. And then once it stopped becoming this earthquake, it basically solidifies around that vehicle, around the car, and it's stuck in the ground. I mean, some of these are like sinkholes or mud holes or whatever, but those cars like this one right here, this one sank down through liquefaction, and then when it stops shaking, it solidifies once again. Basically, if a person were to sink down into the mud like that, they would once the world stops shaking, the mud would kind of solidify and they'd be stuck in there. You know what I mean? And that's why I believe that you have so many statues and artwork and stuff around the world that depicts giants and titans basically being stuck in the earth and reaching up. And there's even a lot of mud fossils that I found that look like hands that are reaching up out of the ground. And if you notice, for those of you who are mud fossil researchers, if you have looked into like various hills and mountain ranges that kind of look like a titan's head, it's always pointed up, like they're trying to breathe, you know, which I imagine would be even harder to breathe. They'd probably be asphyxiated once it solidifies around their body once more, right? It'd be really hard to breathe, but they're probably leaning upwards like that to try not to drown in the mud, in the mud flooding of the world. That's basically what it is. So the titans of old, they had nothing to float on, nothing to really hold on to, and so they would just sink down into the mud, and they would continue to sink all the way down. And even biblically, and some other religious texts and some other older texts, they talk about how, oh, you know what? The little bar up there didn't even work. That's crazy. Let me take that. I'm going to take that bar down. That bar didn't even go down. I don't want it to reflect 0. Let's see here. Oh, Evan Scorpio just donated like $50 and says, I don't know if it's $50, but yeah, it looks like $50. It says, for all you do, Jay, sending positive vibes, love and light. Hey, thanks, man. A lot. Thank all of you very much. I forgot what I was going to do. Oh, I was going to take that thing down. What is that up there? One sec. I'm sorry. I just want it to look good. Let's see. Oh, I've got so much stuff. There it is. Okay, let's get rid of that because it's not working. All right, so the Titans, they started to sink down to ground. They don't have anything to hold on to, anything to float on, and that's why you see the story of Noah in some of the esoteric commentaries and some of like the older stories about King Og. Remember I talked to you guys about King Og and how he was a Titan? Well, his story talks about how he was able to hold on to the ark to like float basically, or, tied something behind it and he was carried along. He was able to float, instead of sinking down, which it's survivable. All of this is survivable. It just depends on various conditions. But the Titans would sink down into the ground. Now, for those of you who are wondering like, hey, what kind of, hey, let's give everybody a round of applause. Thank you so much, everyone. You guys are great, man. I needed that so much. But anyway, everything is sinking down into the ground. So if you're interested in surviving this particular portion of it, especially if you do live in an area that's going to be prone to this, like a very sandy area or an area that's basically not built on bedrock, My recommendation is to research the geography of your particular city and look around and see where the bedrock is, because that's going to be an important place that you're going to need to know where to go. If you're not on bedrock, then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tell you guys what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on like Amazon soon when I can afford it, and I'm going to buy one of those inflatable rafts like Indiana Jones jumped out of the plane on, like the kind you pull the string and it just goes and it inflates. Yep. Excuse me. I'm going to get one of those, which reminds me, I forgot the mic was on during the intro and I totally coughed right into the microphone. I was like, anyway. Yeah. One of those inflatable rafts, anything like inflatable is going to really be helpful, I believe, because you don't want to get sucked down into the mud. So let's check out some other stuff here. All right. That was liquefaction. There were some images there of liquefaction. A lot of times this happens in cities in certain areas, and cars will just sink down into the mud. I wanted to show you guys this one right here, though. What is this one? Oh, yeah, this one's pretty good. I'll just play this for a quick second. You see that? So that table right there, it started to shake. It started to vibrate. And this soil on top, it's wet, So when it starts to shake and vibrate, all this heavy stuff right here started to sink down, and it'll sink all the way down into it until it's completely down underneath. You see how it's bubbly? It's starting to get really liquidy and stuff right there. That's exactly what's going to be happening in many parts of the world. This is the swampy part of the plasma apocalypse. I mean, everything's not going to be swampy forever, because once the world stops shaking, then the water will recede and the soil will solidify once more. Excuse me. But a lot of stuff's going to get buried in this particular way. And I believe this is why we have such strange things in the quote unquote fossil record. When you go further down, you find different things. And this is also why when they dig really far down deep, they're still finding things that don't belong that far down deep, right? Like various forms of technology and stuff that doesn't belong that far down deep into the ground, according to academia and the fossil record as it's taught. This stuff will just sink all the way down into the ground. So we'll get rid of this one now. This is the swampy part of the plasma apocalypse. This is like in The Princess Bride. Let's see if I could pull that up here. How do I get that up there? Not sure. Let's just open it in a new tab. Open image in new tab. Thank you. Oh, that's not the new tab. That's not the new tab. There it is. Okay. Anyway. Let's see if I make that bigger. Okay, so this is a scene from The Princess Bride. It's actually very relevant to the plasma apocalypse because, as we've seen, the imagery is all over the place, and especially in the movies. In The Princess Bride, there's this particular place called the Fire Swamp. This is a part of the plasma apocalypse that's being shown to us. That there's 3 dangers of the Fire Swamp. Obviously, there's like this popping noise, which is static, or which is electricity, followed by this fire that erupts, basically, and that's a part of the plasma apocalypse. You also have the ROUSs, which are rodents of unusual size. Those are essentially your phantazoids. And then we have this quicksand, right? And the quicksand is an element of the plasma apocalypse as well. I just wanted to kind of throw that up there for you guys real quick. All right, what else do we have here? We did Wikipedia. That's the one I just opened. Okay, so check this out. This is, if you just type in liquefaction, you can see kind of how it works. This guy right here, look at it. You see right there? This is solid ground, but when he jumps on it and starts to move it around with his feet like that, just with the weight of his body, okay, this is without earthquakes or anything, the soil starts to sort of liquefy. The more he moves it around, the more it starts to kind of spread out. And I'll show you guys a couple more examples. This one is the same soil that you just saw with the guy. The tractor was moving it around, or not tractor, dump truck, or what is that? I forgot what that's called. The machine, whatever it is digging down in the ground. How do I not know what that's called? My mind's going blank. I'm all over the place. But anyway, as you can see, once it actually digs in the dirt, there's no water down there or anything, right? It's just all over itself. And you don't have to have water in order for this to happen either. Okay, it just depends on the shaking. It depends on the vibration. But our world has a lot of water already inside of it. And a lot of people will do demonstrations. You'll see demonstrations. And you can do this at home too to see how it works. You just grab like a little pan or something like this guy has right here. Put some dirt in there. It's got to be wet dirt, because if not, you're going to have to really vibrate it really like a bunch. And this stuff will sink down. Now, the other thing that happens, in addition to things sinking down, I'm going to jump in the chat in just a second. In addition to things sinking down, the things that are already buried will start to rise up. They'll start to come to the top, to the surface level. All right, let me jump in the chat here. Sorry, I've been missing a lot of stuff. Oh, man. Yeah, so let me repeat. Evan Scorpio said, for all you do, sending positive vibes, love, and light. Thank you so much, man. Lori Groth says, JayDreamerZ, that cup thing on the video that you have sometimes is fun to watch with donations. Are you talking about my little tardigrade over there? Let's see here. We got Beautiful Awakening and says, is it about density? I think so. I mean, I'm not an expert in liquefaction. I've just been researching it on my own, but I believe it has a lot to do with the vibration, right? I don't know. I guess it would be less dense, like whenever it's vibrating. I don't know. I'm not sure if density has anything to do with it. Could be. I don't know. Honestly, I'm just gonna say I don't know. Let's see. Beautiful Awakening also says, what if our boat was vibrating, like noise canceling against the vibration? No, I think you'll be okay. I think as long as you're on the boat, I believe you would float. Okay, I could be wrong. I don't know. But that's why I'm getting an inflatable boat, because that's pretty much a guarantee. Like, it's not going to get sucked down. You know what I mean? Are you safe in a Zeppelin? Man, you remember what happened to that other one? What was that one called? What was that one that blew up? Man, a Zeppelin. You're safe from liquefaction, that's for sure. But I don't know about being in a big flying metal thing during the plasma apocalypse. That doesn't sound like a great idea. Oh, it's a digger. Hey, thank you. Okay, it's a digger. Well, that makes sense. It should be a digger, because that's what it is. All right, let me see what else we got here for the gifts I was pulling up here. Here's another one. You see that guy right there? See how it's basically very liquidy? That's solid ground, but it's very liquidy, and the more he steps on it and moves it, the more he's going to sink into it, basically. So if, for example, if he were to just stand there and that was really, really liquidy, okay, let's say that the earth was shaking, he would start to sink down. But whenever you stomp on it and you put pressure on it, it actually condenses, depending on how thick it is, okay? If it's like soupy, like quicksand is, probably not. But on something like this, if you step on it quickly, you could run across it and you wouldn't sink down into it. But it depends on like I want to say viscosity. I don't know if that's the right word. It depends on like how thick it is, basically. Here's some other stuff I wanted to share with you guys. Well, this is a guy in actual quicksand, but I think that's a movie. Yeah, it's kind of a movie. Let's see. That's the same guy as before. Okay. Now watch this. See how he's struggling and he's sinking down more into the quicksand? That's what that's like. So, hey, for those of you, if you get caught in it, don't struggle, okay? I don't know if you know that about quicksand, but you don't want to struggle against it. See, that's why they're doing that. Like, the more they start moving it and shaking it, the looser it becomes, and people and things and objects start to sink down into it. Let me see if I had anything else here I wanted to show you guys. I think this one too. This guy. See how he's struggling and he's going lower and lower? I don't know. He could be acting them, but that's pretty much how it works, basically. All right, let me get rid of that. And let me get rid of the screen share. Hey, thank you again, Ted Ozzy, Semyaza, Ray Freeman, and welcome to the new members as well. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome, man. Let's see here. I'm going to get rid of the background real quick. There we go. Oh, well, now it's nothing. Well, that's nice to look at. Jeez. I'm sorry. Anyway, let me pull up the chat here. So what I'd like to do right now, that was pretty much it. That was a sort of a short presentation, and if anything else comes to mind, then I'll be happy to talk about it. But I'm in the chat right now, and I want to kind of focus on you guys to see what your thoughts are, and if you have any questions or little tips that you might have as well. Ted Ozzy's in the chat and says, JayDreamerZ, density suggests lighter objects sit above heavier objects. That's how it should be in the ideal conditions, which is why water is above the earth yet under air. Oh, okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Man, I really bit my lip. Like, pretty good. So yeah, basically the world starts to shake, okay? And it's not gonna shake forever. It's just gonna be a growth, okay? And when it grows, the whole world's gonna start shaking and vibrating, and it's gonna be loud too. I don't know how many people have ever been in an earthquake, but I grew up in Southern California, and I was in a lot of earthquakes, including the Landers earthquake, which is one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. And you can hear an earthquake before it actually comes. And a lot of people can sense earthquakes. I would imagine that many of you out there are going to be able to sense a worldwide earthquake before it happens. You start to kind of feel a little nauseous, maybe even a little dizzy. Typically, that's kind of what happens. It's actually shown on the movie Phenomenon. So if you've ever seen Phenomenon, that's where this guy looks up in the sky and the plasma comes down and hits him, and all of a sudden he's got like these superpowers and ESP and all this stuff, and he can feel when the earth is going to have an earthquake. And he calls in and he talks to like local college or something like that, telling them like, hey, like I know how to predict earthquakes. And it's not difficult to predict earthquakes either, okay? Oh man. Anyway, so yes, that was pretty much the whole deal. I thought I was going to talk a lot longer about it this time, But that's liquefaction in a nutshell, and that's what I absolutely believe happened to a lot of the Titans. They didn't have anything to hold on to. They're massive. They're giant. So when this particular plasma apocalypse, when you go from the blue sky to the red sky, and there's that shift, everything afterwards, everything's going to start getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're going to have Titans once more. Titans will walk the world again. And then during the next one, those Titans will sink down into the earth if they're not prepared in some way, shape, or form. And that will be the end of many of those Titans. And that's also why you have like the imagery of the gargoyles and whatnot, where they put these giants and these monsters and stuff on the buildings, and they're stone, which is an eternal curse. And they're also drowning, because that's what gargoyles are for, basically. I mean, well, that's one of the reasons that they have gargoyles. But they take the water away from the building, and usually it comes out of their mouth, and it's pouring out of their mouth. They're like in a perpetual constant state of drowning, water just coming out of their mouth. And that's why a lot of times you've got like the bad guys in the movies, they don't like water, you know, whether it be holy water or some other form of water. Like a lot of times, for some reason in the movies, the bad guys are easily killed by plain old water, right? I remember the movie Signs, where the alien came down and the guy hits the water that's all over the place with the bat, and the alien's like, water, and it starts to like disintegrate or whatever. Well, that's one of the reasons why they use that. They use the certain symbols and signs as signs of victory and signs of warning, that harken back to the war between the giants and the Titans, right? Or the gods and the Titans, you could say. And they use certain signs like the hook in the sky, which is when the sky cracks open and you've got the tree of life shooting up, and it sort of makes a hook shape. Which is also the Nike swoosh and the sickle of death, and, you know, various other forms of the hook, basically. Thor's hammer and stuff. But then you also have the gargoyles and stuff that are constantly like drowning and whatnot in like perpetual rock formations, because that's also what happens, right? Is the plasma comes down and petrifies these things as well, especially if they're stuck in the mud and then the plasma comes overhead. It's just going to petrify all of that. It's going to solidify all of it. It's Pinecone says, I personally can't wait for all this flood water to finally leave Earth. Red skies and 90% more land. I can't wait. Hey, I totally agree. Not just 90% more land, but abundant and gigantic life and growth on the land as well, right? So we'll get to go explore basically what are now the bottoms of the oceans and many, many other places. Like right now, comparatively speaking, we all live on mountains, on like the tops of the world. There's all those places that are ocean right now that we'll be able to go discover and explore, and, you know, have plenty and plenty of room to repopulate. Yeah, it's Pinecone says, and a lot longer lifespan. I totally agree with that too. I believe that the conditions are going to exist that are going to extend our lives and heal us. Like many people are going to be healed, possibly even turning back the hands of time for some of us who are older, like basically reversing aging. I think that's a very strong possibility as well. I think it's a stronger possibility. Like I for sure think, okay, strong intuition basically, that it's going to extend everyone's lifespans, like at least by hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe more than that. But it's also going to probably make people who are older start to reverse their aging so that they start to look younger. Like basically, you know, wrinkles and scars and all this stuff is probably going to go away. That's not based on like a lot of research or anything. A lot of that comes from my intuition, honestly, and certain signs and omens that I've seen on my path and on my walk. I think it's very possible. My son actually looked at me the other day and I was like, man, because I was kind of sad. He's like, why are you sad? I was like, I want to play with you all the time, but I can't. I don't have that much energy to just constantly play. And he's like, don't worry, Dad, you'll be a kid again after the plasma apocalypse. And I was like, I had never even talked about it. And I was like, wow, how interesting. It could be the whole Benjamin Button theme in the movie. Maybe not reversing all the way back to being a baby, you know what I mean? But possibly just reversing the aging. Also, I saw that there's a few post-apocalyptic movies where it's just kids. Like, for some reason, like, it's very rare to see a grown-up in the post-apocalypse. In many of these TV shows and movies, it's always like, you know, people who are like in their 20s or something, basically, you know, late teens, early 20s, and they're always the survivors. They're always the ones who really are populating the world. There's a show on Netflix, I think, and it's like a little like millennial grungy, like black sheep kind of show or whatever. Everyone's talking in millennial speak. It's crazy because I understand it, but it's only kids that survive the plasma or the apocalypse or whatever. I think in that show it was like a nuclear bomb went off, which is what probably a lot of people are going to assume nuclear bombs are going off, because people guess about things that they are familiar with, you know. It's Pinecone says, well, JayDreamerZ, the Bible does mention long lifespans, so I'm sure it'll happen like back in biblical times. Yeah, I totally think so too. Warrior of Love says, I believe DNA repair will happen. The frequency of our realm will be in harmony. I'd agree with that as well. I think that harmony is going to be returning to our world. Everything's going to get better and better and better as we, you know, as the world rebuilds itself and makes itself back to a paradise state, a garden state, if you will. Just like the movie that's called Garden State. They name all these movies things purposefully for this particular reason. Oh, hey, another thing, while I'm just kind of sitting here thinking about stuff, is that I'm going to be working on a new intro to the Plasma Apocalypse, because that one's a little different, and a new intro to my Sylvan Lining segment as well. Note to self. But for the Plasma Apocalypse segment, I'm going to be doing some more like cool video intro, kind of showing stuff that's going on. So I'm going to revamp that and rework that. Beautiful Awakening says, that's inverted peace sign. Wait, it's the right way. Oh my God, Mandela effect just happened to me. Right? Well, I don't know if you remember, but I did talk about the peace sign. That's why I added it to the little emojis or whatnot, because that's the pyramid. That's Rupus Negra with the blue light shooting up out of it, right? And I've seen that baby blue light all over the place. I'm just as sure about that as I am the rest of the plasma, the red plasma, probably hydrogenated plasma that comes down from the sky. Then you have the oxygenated plasma that shoots up from the center of our world. And that's the light of the world. And that's Jack's beanstalk. And that's the tree of life. That's the world tree too. I mean, we're going to have huge trees growing. Everything's going to become gigantic and titanic once more, right? Many things, I should say, not everything. Because some of us are going to probably stay close to the same size. We may grow a bit more, but our children are going to grow to be much bigger than we are. Excuse me. There's a Mandela Effect movie? I didn't know that. What movie is this? It's Pinecone says that there's a Mandela Effect movie. Where can I find that? I'll check that out. Is it like a documentary or a real movie? Unlearn the System says, I swear I saw a plasma tentacle last night. Hey, it's absolutely possible. They happen all the time. Our world still has plasma in it all over the place. Actually, there was plasma in my house. I mean, there's probably still plasma in my house, but there was a I forgot what it's called, but you know when electricity gets a little too much, too excited, and it sort of bzzz, I literally saw like one of those proton beams in my house. And I know why. It's because it's how I had my computer set up, and the extension cords and electricity and stuff. Basically I had something that was open and turned on, and it shouldn't have been, and it caused an electrical arc to shoot across my hallway in the middle of the night. And I was like it was only there for a split second, but I definitely saw it like out of the corner of my eye, and it was just this beam. It was a bluish white beam. It was pretty cool. Hey, thanks everybody for all of the suggestions too about like things to watch and check out and movies to watch and things like that, because I do check those things out. And if I do, a lot of times I'll go to stories mode on the phone and I'll share that as well. Also, I had a great time being on Rex's show. So like I said, I'm going to be on his show again at the end of the month. We're going to get back together and I'm going to explain a little bit more details. I was talking super fast on his show because I know there's a lot of information and I wanted to cram in as much as I could because I know I wasn't going to have a long time to talk. But I wanted to be able to also build a bridge for those people who had either never heard of the concept or the theory or the idea, so that they can go from, wherever they were to getting a little closer to the understanding, a more full understanding of the plasma apocalypse. Beautiful Awakenings in the chat and says, JayDreamerZ, it was yesterday. The world forgot the Beatles. Oh, that's right. I did see an advertisement for that. Somebody in the chat, I think, mentioned it, and I looked up, or somebody sent it to me in an email. I don't know. But I looked up the preview for it, and you're right. That's totally a Mandela Effect movie. I'm going to have to check that out when it's like on Netflix or something. Let's see here. Tony Peterson's in the chat and says, New Year's blessings to all the Good Vibe crew. Well, good blessings to you too. Bones McCoy's wearing his Peace t-shirt. Hey, by the way, speaking of t-shirts, I'm going to start working on like some better t-shirt designs and stuff. Like I was just kind of playing with Teespring. That's, you could have a merch shelf or whatever through Teespring. And I wanted to make some cool stuff, but I didn't know how it worked. So I just kind of slapped my logo on a bunch of stuff. But I'm actually going to start making some cool stuff with like Phanazoids and some other stuff like that. So keep your eye out for that. That'll be coming up. Hopefully. And I do have a couple of job interviews lined up, like regular job. I know I got to go back and do a regular job. It's because of my circumstances, but hopefully not for a long time, right? Hopefully once my book's done being written and, hopefully YouTube channel will get shared and become more popular and stuff. Maybe I'll come back to doing this full time as well. But in the future, it's still going to be the way that it is now because I don't need a lot of time to set things up anymore because I've been close to perfecting it. I still make mistakes, but I've been close to perfecting it. But yeah, I'm going to go get another job and I've got a job interview tomorrow at T-Mobile. So, I know like them or hate them. I don't care. I need a secure job right now. And as much as I love you guys, this is not a secure job for me. And I have a son and I have to take care of him because he's first. Yes, I know. It's Pinecone says we don't want you getting a job. Hey man, I know I don't want that either. Trust me. Or if I had one, I would at least like to run my own business or something, But that's what I have to do right now because of my personal life and things that have happened to me. I have to basically, and it's a good idea. At this particular juncture, I got to do it. I got to do it. So, that's totally fine with me. I'll still have time to do this. Don't worry. I'm not going to go anywhere. Okay. Ted Ozzy says the visible universe is 99% plus plasma, says academia. So there's a validation there that beyond the dome is plasma waiting to touch down. Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's a good point. It's Pinecone says we don't want you getting a job. Lori Groth says, JayDreamerZ, Rex's energy is always peak. He is cool and very knowledgeable. Ack. Yeah, you know what? We were actually chatting before that live stream started. We were just hanging out, talking to each other, and we got along instantly. Like, he is a cool guy and he's pretty laid back and stuff. And I don't know, it was an honor to be on the dude's channel, and he was really respectful. He allowed me the time to give my presentation and to talk about the things I wanted to talk about while also, jumping in from time to time to participate, So he was a good host in that way. I liked that. Tony Peterson is in the chat and says, JayDreamerZ, we see lots of plasma here in Australia too. You got to wonder if some of them are being started from plasma fingers. I've seen some strange things in the sky. It very well could be because I believe the plasma, the electromagnetic charge of our world is strengthening. It's getting stronger and stronger and stronger before the final blowout where we reach the neutral point, right? And that's what we're going to see a lot of. We're going to see a lot of lights in the sky and St. Elmo's fire and ball lightning, and all that type of stuff. We're going to see that more and more, including this. The easiest thing to look for is going to be increased increased lightning strikes, and a lot of more deaths resulting from an increase in lightning strikes. You're also going to see a lot of like transformers and electrical conduits blowing up, or catching fire, things like that. Semyaza says the cap you wore needs green JayDreamerZ with the membership tree above. Would look nice, or JayDreamerZ logo as your backdrop. Hey, I totally agree. And I was trying to look on Teespring for a hat, but all they have is like the kind you snap on. So like the logo would be up here. I wanted the logo to be like here. You know what I mean? Like right on the pineal gland. So I don't know. I'll definitely think about that. They do have other kinds of hats and stuff. And I do want to have a hat with the logo on the back or on the front when I wear it backwards, because I wear my hats backwards. But yeah, that would be pretty cool. All right. Hey, I don't have anything else to say. So that was pretty much it. Okay. It's very simple. Don't get sucked down. Okay. Research your geography. There are topographic, geographic maps. I don't know the right words. I'm scatterbrained right now. I've got so many things happening in my life right now. But there's maps and stuff. There's a geodetic surveys in all of your areas. Go check it out and see how far down the bedrock is, if there's any bedrock in your area. What kind of soil are you living on and living near, right? That's going to help you out a lot. Become familiar with your surroundings and what's around you. Although many of those surroundings are going to change, you want to know, what are the things I need to prepare the most for? Am I in an area that's not near a mountain or anything that's going to be blocking the tempest wind? That's something I need to prepare for. Am I in an area that's has a lot of sandy soil and stuff on it? That's something you need to prepare for. Hey, we just got a new member too, right at the last second. AJ Must just joined as a member of the Good Vibe Tribe. Welcome, AJ. Bones McCoy, cool name. I like Bones McCoy. Says, give us a heads up when you go on other YouTube shows. Definitely a great way to get your channel out there. I will. And what I did last time is I put it in the community tab, the community section. I'm like, hey, everyone, I'm going to be on the show, etc. So I'll probably do that again the next time I go on, but I'll try to give more of a heads up. Me and Rex, we worked that out literally at the last second. So I had an hour or two to prepare, basically. So that was kind of a last second thing. So next time I go on his show, it's going to be at the end of the month, and I'll probably give you guys a week notice probably, because I already know when I'm going to be going on. Yeah, definitely you want to get to know your surroundings. And there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes into survival. And honestly, a part of me, I believe a lot of it is, I don't know, destiny. I think, like me, I'm not afraid of the plasma apocalypse whatsoever. I feel confident that I am here to survive this event, to learn about it, to share my knowledge with other people, to inspire and encourage other people to lift their vibrations, to bring in a new world and not a new world order or anything, but to usher in a paradise world, to bring the very best of what we have and to change ourselves as we go into that transitioning. So that's me. I feel like I'm going to survive and repopulate, help to repopulate the rest of the world and raise children up in a good way, in a strong way, in a healthy way, in a loving way, in an intelligent and logical and reasoning kind of a way. And that's an honor for me when that time comes. So, hey, thanks, AJ. You're the greatest. Thank you. AJ's cool. Oh, Beautiful Awakening says, crocodiles will survive the apocalypse. They probably will. Yeah, a lot of stuff's going to survive, okay? A lot of stuff's going to get sucked out. But, we have animals, right? Obviously, lots of the animals survived. I don't believe the event is going to be as drastic as I first thought it was going to be. When I first thought of the plasma apocalypse, I'm like, all life is going away. All life is dying. Oh, man. But then I started to look into it, and I'm like, no, it's not really all life. There's pockets that have plenty of life, plenty of survivors, whether it be animals, bugs, people, vegetation of different sorts. There's going to be a lot of survivors. It's just that you're going to be so far away from the other survivors, you feel like you're the last man and woman on Earth. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's going to definitely do a huge population control. Oh yeah, Lori Groth says, remember those people / hikers standing on top of a mountain and their hair was staticky while they were freaking, and then people out of the blue getting struck by lightning? Game on. Yeah, I totally remember that. And that happened to me. That happened to me when I was up on top of Pikes Peak with my P900. Like the camera started to crackle and I felt electric pops in my fingertips, and I felt like my hands like had electricity all throughout them. My arm was like vibrating with electricity, and I put the camera down and I started to get off the mountain. That's the point when I left. But yes, anyway, hey, I'm going to wrap things up because I don't want to beat a dead horse, and I don't want to stick around too long. Plus I've got things, like I said, I'm trying to sell some stuff here at the house so that I can pay the rent and get things taken care of. Hey, let's all do an emoji round of applause for everyone in the chat who donated to basically keep a roof over me and my son's head. I really want to give you guys some appreciation. So this goes out to Ray Freeman, Ted Ozzie, Semyaza, and Evan Scorpio, who all basically are going to help to keep my place. So I want to say thanks. Let me jump in the chat and do an emoji round of applause for all you guys. So thank you all very much. I hate talking about that kind of thing, because I've never asked for anything. But yes, definitely let's blow it up with some positive emojis for all of them, because man, I'm just thankful on behalf of my son. Like I can go different places. I don't have to keep my little place that I have right now, but it was a sudden transition period for stuff that's happening to me in my personal life right now, and things are looking up. I just got to get through January. I'm pretty sure that I'll be good after January. But anyway, I just want to say thanks. I appreciate it. Oh, AJ joined the website too. Hey, thanks. I should probably say, go check out my website, JayDreamerZ.com. If you want to know more about the plasma apocalypse, if you want to know more about Titans, and I've got all my pictures up there posted for all of my mud fossil research. Semyaza just donated $20 and says, thank you, Jay. Well, thank you, Semyaza. Thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it. Man, yeah, I'm so glad you guys are here, honestly. I feel like I really know a lot of you and have a special bond with some of you in particular. So thank you. All right, I'm going to take off. You guys enjoy the new credits. Some are new. Some people didn't put what gift they wanted, so I just let them have the same one as last month. What I'm going to do is after today, I'm going to go in and I'm going to put, for everyone who is in the gifted tier and higher, I'm going to put a little posting in there in the community section so that you can copy and paste your gift that you'd like to represent you during the credits. And please make sure you got to right click on the GIF itself and copy the link address to the GIF, not to the web page that the GIF is on, or else I won't be able to see it. Mother Dragon. I'm just kidding. All right. And hey, also Mother Dragon, thanks for texting me all that stuff. I'm checking out a bunch of it right now. I've been kind of busy today, but yeah, I just want to say thanks a lot for texting me all that cool stuff, and hopefully I'll be able to watch the new Doctor Who pretty soon. All right, I'm going to take off. You guys have a great rest of your day. I will see you guys on Monday, right, when we do our Ancient Oblivion section. I may be talking about the Giants of Ireland, possibly. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, I'll see you guys on Monday. Enjoy the credits. Thank you all so much for your support and your good vibes. The good vibes have really helped a lot in my personal life. So thank you. Thank you a lot. You guys mean a lot to me personally. And there's so many times I wish I could meet all of you. All right. I'm going to go. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.
If